Hey there viewers, welcome back to Reassembling Trades. Today we are working on a beauty. Husqvarna Special 365. This thing is beautiful. Unbelievably well kept. Brandon, the guy that owns it, contacted me and he was in the process of working on it. And he said he noticed that to make it run somewhat, he had to adjust the carburetor screws way out. I think he said 5 turns on the low screw to get this thing to even run. So basically he's opening up that screw, letting more fuel in than the norm. And when you're adding more fuel to make it run properly, that means that there's too much air coming in. He didn't have the ability of doing a vacuum and pressure test on it and just asked if I would do that for him. Look how clean that Walbro carburetor is. Decomp button is out. Compression feels awesome. An NGK spark plug in it. I don't want to fire it up to verify the complaint, mostly because A, he knows what he's doing, he knows that something's wrong, and B, I don't want to be the one that scores up that cylinder if it's running lean, which it sounds like it is. A little bit on the rich side maybe, which is, my preference is good. Let's take a peek down in that cylinder. Kind of hard to see, a little bit wet down in there. I don't see any scoring right off the bat. We got to pull off the muffler to test it anyway. So we'll take a better look once we get the muffler off of there. Bar and chain are like new, rim sprockets like new. Yeah, she was probably running a little bit on the lean side. See how it burnt right there? It's usually what happens. The muffler starts getting really hot. Starts burning the cover. These are usually 4mm Allen, and I want to say these are either 4 or 5s up in here. Yep, these are 5s. Alright, let's get a better look at this thing. Try to get you in there so you can see. So I believe this has a little bit of 4-corner scarring. Alright, so it usually comes from running it before it has a chance to warm up. So you see that vertical line back there in the center of the screen. And there's another one I'm trying to show you back on that corner. And then if I pull the piston up, you can kind of see some right here in this corner over here, and just a little bit on that side over there. The ring actually looks pretty good though. So she just started to take a little bit of abuse. I'm a little concerned about this one up here in this corner. But as nice as new as everything is on this, I think I'd like to try to fix it as is. Just starting to show some wear. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a block off plate behind here and here. And then we'll block off the carburetor as well. And then we'll inject air and vacuum into this and see what transpires. See what we get. You can pull it apart and a lot of times clean up the cylinder. We've done that several times and put it all back together, and we may end up doing that if it's got a base gasket leak. But for right now, let's just see what we're working with. So this block off plate is going to drop in just like this, and I'm going to drop it until I hit both of those screw holes, and that's going to cover that entire opening. Just press that down in there and then tighten it up. If I was thinking, I would have left those gaskets in place. That way when I go to loosen it up and I pull out that rubber membrane, I don't have to take it all the way off. But I wasn't thinking. So the exhaust is plugged off. Now we want to plug off the intake. We can do it a couple different ways. I think I would like to just pull the carburetor back and see if I can put something right between the carburetor and that. That way we can check the intake boot for leaks. Pop out the two intake mounts. And let's pull off the choke. Yeah, I think all we want to do is block off this plate right here. We're going to drop it right there. Just double check to make sure that everything's sealed up. These are always hard to seal up because I don't want to over torque them. So basically I just get it to what I think it needs, start injecting air, and then check for my leak. And if my leak is right here, then I know that I have to start tightening it up some more. By the way, this says bleach, but it's actually soapy water. Let's do vacuum first. Nothing on vacuum. Can't build pressure anywhere. Let's do some quick checks. Is it my equipment? Doesn't appear to be the equipment. All right, let's check this. All right, it's not leaking there. Let's check the decompression valve. Let's check the exhaust. Obviously, I'm looking for air bubbles. All right, and I suspect it's probably my seal right there. I didn't realize this had an impulse line on it. Let me plug that off real quick. Yep, my bad. I should have remembered the impulse line. All right, now let's see if we get something. Plug that off. Now can we build pressure? No. Nope, cannot build pressure at all. Once I start building pressure, it is possible that these gaskets will start leaking, but I can't even begin to build pressure. Well, let's start checking crank seals. Let's get the piston stop in there. Get this rotated up till it's meeting the piston, because you don't want it to go flying and hit. And then we're just going to try to tap this with a hammer and chisel, see if we can get it loose. I'm hoping I captured that on one of the cameras. Clutch comes off clockwise. So right here is where I messed up. That is the oil drive gear. This piece I'm trying to pull out. Don't take that out if you're trying to do a vacuum and pressure test. That's supposed to seal up on the crank seal. Mine was shot, so it wouldn't have sealed up anyway, but that had to stay in accurate vacuum and pressure test. I'm pretty sure we just found our leak. Now it's leaking worse right now because that piece is missing, but the seal that I was looking at was also shot. So it's the same symptoms, it's just not quite accurately reflected here. You guys see that? %, is leaking from there. There we go. Keyway's in good shape. Let's see. Well, it's leaking out of the other seal fast enough that all the other seals look good, but you won't know until you've sealed up the other side, and then it can start building pressure and vacuum to actually pull it. So the other side is what we're targeting. Let's get the oil pump pulled out of it. Got Loctite on it. All right, where are you leaking from? That seal just doesn't look quite right. And I think that these holes go all the way through. Yep. I might end up putting plugs inside these to get a better seal. I just want to see if it's leaking strong enough that it'll get past there. And she's leaking out where that crankshaft seal is. All right. So what we're going to do is loosen up the seals, because I don't have this seal. So we're going to loosen up the exhaust so that it relaxes the block off plates. So those are loose. Take these back out for now. Okay. We're going to call Brandon and find out what he wants to do with this thing. I think he said he had a seal for it, but from what I can tell, we are leaking between the crankshaft and right here. So we're leaking right there. And I don't know if anything's missing or not. I feel like there should have been an O-ring in there or something. And I really would like to see what the new seal looks like before I start, you know, pounding on anything or trying to pull a seal out or anything like that. Just in case, you know, there's something behind it and you start making a hole so that you can pull it out. And next thing you know, you're touching something you shouldn't be touching. So without having the new one in place, I'm just scared to attack it that way. I'll get some parts. I'll be back with you guys as soon as I can. All right, so some parts came in. All right, so you see how this seal is set like that? That's definitely not the, well, the seal basically ripped. It's missing this whole center part. I'll show you here in just a second, but that's why it wasn't sealing up. And then it's also missing this O-ring here. So we're going to be installing that O-ring as well. I cheated a little bit and I already pulled this seal out. I just used a pick. I just wanted to see what was underneath this thing. And just pried up and pulled that seal out of there. Now we're looking at the top of the bearing right there. That's the bearing. This is the housing. And then you can see the ball bearings down inside here. I do see a mar right here on this edge. So I do need to Durco sealant this new seal in. I don't want to mess that up, so let's make sure that that's sealed up. Because truthfully, this is the second time I'm doing this, and I just wanted to show you guys the right way. I didn't see this marred up edge before, and that caused me to have a leak, and I ended up having to pull it all back apart again, my brand new seal and my brand new O-ring and everything else. So I ordered two new ones again. So we're going to set this seal here. Goes all the way down between this crankshaft and the inside of the bearing. And then we're going to set that down inside that groove with a blunt object. I'm using the back side of a pick that's rounded. And get it down in that groove. That's critical. You got to get that seal down inside there. So it just kind of fits in that with that V that's created by the bearing and the crankshaft. It fits down inside that groove right there. And then we have this bushing right here. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of two-stroke oil. I'm going to put it around this bushing right here, just like that, and put this seal in place very carefully and slide it down. Make sure it doesn't prolapse the seal, but it needs to sit down here on that bushing. Let's see, can I get it on there better the other way? Yeah, seems to slide on easier that way. You just have to make sure that that seal doesn't get prolapsed, basically turned inside out. So, and the easiest way I know to do that is just basically move it up and down. That way it can take whatever edge it needs to and slide it to the top. So, just like that. All right, very carefully, we're going to leave it like this. We are going to clean this off and put some Durco on here, and then we're going to install this seal with a 19mm socket. But I have to be very cautious because when I was installing it the first time, it basically drove the seal down and popped this out. So I need to be very cautious when I'm putting it in that it doesn't move that out, because I really want it to go on like that. Because if I try to put the seal on after the fact, you have to use plastic and try to get it, moved on there. But if you can install it like this, you're so much better off. Okay, I got my edge cleaned up really nicely. We're going to put a light coat of Durco around the outside. And it should look something like that. Just seal it right on the edge of the seal, nothing on the inside, nothing spilled over. I'm gently going to push this down. I'm slowly going to tap that in place and keep checking to make sure that seal, the bushing is not moving up as we do that. The bushing still looks good. Yeah, I think we got it. Now that everything's in place, wipe up any kind of excess sealer. And just rotating that bushing back and forth a little bit. Make sure that O-ring sits in there nice and neat. And then take a real close look at the seal and make sure it's not prolapsed. It should look nice and even all the way around. Yep, I think we did it perfectly this time, guys. All right, we'll do a leak down test on this thing. Make sure it holds 7 pounds of pressure and make sure it holds, was it 10 inches of mercury? So because this bushing is holding that seal down, we're gonna do that test with the clutch in place, holding it all down. So just mash that all together. All right, we're gonna let that sit for 24 hours before we attempt to do a pressure test on it. I'll bring you guys back. All right, y'all, following day, let that set up overnight. While I was at it, I changed out this seal, same process. Just popped the old seal out, drove the new seal in. I did put sealer around the outside edge because fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me again. I don't know, something like that. Let's go ahead and tighten it up and see if that took care of our leak. So let's give this 15 minutes, make sure that we're still holding 7 pounds, and then we'll go pull a vacuum on it and see if we can hold 15 inches of mercury. All right, y'all, it's been 15 minutes. and I may have lost 1/4 pound, but I don't think so. Maybe 1/8. And I've got a lot of connections going on here, so that's completely acceptable to me. All right. Let's pull 15 inches of mercury. Actually, I want to say it's 10 inches of mercury. Looking at the scale. All right, y'all, I'm holding steady at 11 inches of mercury. It might be 11.5, depending upon how you look at it. All right, let's let that sit for 15 minutes, see what that does. All right, it's been probably 20 minutes, and I maybe lost 1/8 of an inch, I guess is what it's called, of mercury. We're gonna call that good. So this thing is definitely tight. Let's get all my extra pieces out of here. Get that plug out. The exhaust is going to take a couple more minutes because I have to put those gaskets back in. Let's see. Gasket, spacer. Let's get those put back. I'll work on those. Let me get that put back in. And then work on those, getting those buffer tubes put back in there. There's one. Choke lever's in the way. Y'all were telling me that too. Don't put that back till you get the buffer tube in. I heard you after the fact. Okay, let's see. I'm actually so excited to get this back into Brandon's hands. He has wanted one of these for a really long time. I may take this back off again, because if you notice, I didn't gap the coil when I put it back together, because honestly, I didn't move the coil, right? All I did was pull the flywheel off, and the flywheel better not be moving. You know, it's sitting on that tapered keyway, and if it's moving and adjusting that, you know, that far out, that means I probably have a different problem. I don't know. I could be wrong. And like I said, if it is out, it'll catch me and I'll go back in and redo it. Now remember that brake band I said I was going to take off because I was getting mad? Yeah, I didn't. Let's see if we can sneak it in there. Let me see. This is going to go first. And I found it was easier to put that grommet in here first and then put this in. And if the brake band was off right now, it would literally just drop right in. That's just called being stubborn. That's all that is. Not taking a shortcut, I'm just being stubborn. Would have been faster if I had done it. So I didn't save any time at all by not doing that. Let's put that on. Drops right into there. All right, so these need Loctite. We already established that, right? Maybe not that much Loctite, but it does need Loctite. Then we should be looking at the oil pump drive. All right, I want to be very careful here. This doesn't take that much pressure. There we go. That was called an adjustable spanner, and you get them for working on hydraulic cylinders. So if you're looking for one, that's what it's called. So there's a groove here that allows for it to grab that oiler that we just put on. Let's see, grease up our bearing. Tell you what, I would think that that oiler should spin right now. I don't like the feel of that. Yeah, I would think that oiler would be free right now. It doesn't appear to be moving very easily. I'm kind of wondering if that, because he said he put a new oiler on it. I'm kind of wondering if either that's not right or if the this thing took some damage before and we might need that sleeve. I'm not sure yet. All right, so it's right at that level. These are tight. The oil pump's tight. Kind of wondering, because this sleeve, the other end of it, did have some wear to it. Anyway, I'm kind of wondering if this is what was rubbing on all of this. So see how shiny this is? Because this is, I mean, literally, it's really, really, really close to that level. I don't know if this aftermarket oil pump is correct or not, or if this right here is aftermarket as well. Is that, you know, too thick? I'm positive that I could probably put that on a belt sander and thin it out. I just don't know if I want to do that. See if there's any other solution before I go that drastic. Let me play around with it a little bit and I'll let you know what I find. So it just occurred to me, you guys may want to see what I'm doing here. I've already started, so the measurement's going to be slightly off. So check this out. I'm going to leave this off. We're going to measure from the edge of this pump down to that washer that we installed. Okay. Once I've got a good solid measurement, we'll lock that in. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to turn this on and zero it. It's going to be slightly off because I've already started sanding on it. Anyhow, so I've zeroed it. We're going to unlock it now. And I'm going to measure from the base there down to where it would meet. So we definitely have to have an air gap between here and here. But I am showing 0.96 millimeters. It was over 1 millimeter difference. And I think that's actually enough to cause the difference in the gap. Hold it steady. Kind of crude, but at least it'll be the same both times. All right, and then let's take this back to 0, and I'll show you the difference. There's 0. Okay. Now, right at the exact same spot here, let's put that back there, so that one's the same. Dang it, I messed up. Alright, so ignore this line here, but the difference between that and that is the difference in the air gap. So I started sanding on it a little bit, and I keep test fitting it. It was much more than that. So all I'm doing is just laying it flat and sanding that part off just a little bit. That gets it closer. And then what I could do is also sand this side and get a better fit that way too. Okay. And all I'm doing is reducing the overall height of this. This one here gets it closer down, and then this one here reduces its height. So you can see I've barely taken anything off. Probably just some of the imperfections, because you can see the center sanded down more than this outside edge here. Still quite a bit showing there. But anyway, put this down, and I've actually got a pretty decent gap that when I put that clutch on, it shouldn't actually touch. Once I get it hand tight, and I should be able to move it freely like this. See it? See that moving in there? So that moves actually super easy. I'm thinking that either the oil pump or this drive gear was not the right dimensions. They're both aftermarket. Or there's another possibility, and that is that that shaft, that center shaft that we were having to put through that seal, it's very possible that that has worn down over time, because it's still original. Okay, now if I'm correct, oiler should move freely, and it does. So that's what was actually getting pinched earlier. So we've already greased up our bearing, put that back in place, and then that groove goes into the oiler. clutch sprocket. Hoping that doesn't, okay. Making sure that that wasn't gonna bite me in the rear end. It might still, but I'll use the old Donny Boy trick here. Pull out my piston stop. Tell you what, we should probably go ahead and get this thing together so that we can put a load on it to test it. A little bit loose, but we'll do that while we're getting it running. I don't know if y'all can hear that in the background. We got one heck of a storm coming through right now. So this is definitely not getting started tonight, but right now it's sealed. It is, I'm guessing it's fueled because I see gas coming out. Yep, it's fueled. So we will give this thing a try tomorrow. Alright, so I set the low speed to 1.5 turns out, the high speed to 1 turn out. That's pretty close to factory. Got my flashlight so that I can see them and my adjusting screwdriver. Let's see if we can get this thing to start. Let's see, run, choke, decomp lever. Oh, she tried to roll. Well, the throttle's not hooked up somehow, so somehow I forgot to hook that up. Well, let me get back in there and adjust or fix that. Didn't even realize. Yep, I forgot to hook it up. Let's get that hooked back up. There we go. Just sounded a little bit rich, but let's let it warm up. Push that in, let's try it. Whoops. Oh, this is a bad saw. Oh, it's a bad saw. All right. Husqvarna 365 special, running a tachometer saying right around 13.2. She runs really good, no load, it burbles like it's supposed to, and the cut cleans right up. This thing's a monster. Hope you got something out of the video. Really appreciate you hanging out. I'll catch you guys on the next one.